when a parent sets an expectation and they say like, okay, this is the expectation. You need to perform in school or bring good grades in whatever extracurricular activity you decide to do. You make sure you excel that in that. And as long as your child is not, you're not getting phone calls from the school.
Yeah.
You're not, you know what I'm saying? Like as long as you appear, quote unquote, appear to be meeting those expectations, there's really not much more as a parent
Right.
would be trying to delve deeper into their child's life, whether it be emotionally or mentally or anything like that, because on all fronts everything appears to be good.
Right.
You're Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Life After I
Doo
Do.
doo doo doo
I'm your
doo.
host Nisha G, and I'm here with my husband
Molito.
Mo Lethal.
Mo to the lethal.
How's everybody out
Mo to
there?
the
I hope everybody is
E
still
to
having a
the
good New Year's. I hope you're still working on those goals that you set for January 1st.
fuck them goals.
Um, Me
Ooh,
personally, I
sorry.
think New Year's resolutions are not,
Pointless?
in a sense, because I feel like whatever you can wait to the first of the year to do, you can do at any time. But I also do understand like the psychological concept behind like having a clean slate, like new year, full 12-month calendar year of achieving a goal. Like I get all that, but I also think that it's one of those things that you could be using as an excuse sometimes, because whatever you want to get done that you are like, the new year, I'm gonna do this, you can do that at any time. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but it could be because of the week that I've had. How was your week?
Should we talk about your week?
I mean, I feel like we kind of experienced the same kind of week.
No, I mean it's been a week.
Yeah.
It's been
Um,
oh cool. Let me go ahead.
oh, go ahead. I didn't know you were going. You just said it's
Yeah.
been a week.
It's I mean it's been an emotional week. Um all around for me. It has not been a good mental week for me at all. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm just here.
Um, Same over here. So we had to like make a really, really big decision, and it was a really hard decision. We had a Chihuahua, a reindeer Chihuahua, Jumper's Ulysses Gill, who would have been with us this year would have made 17 years. We had our dog, and he got up there in age, and we had to make a hard decision about making sure he can just be comfortable towards the end of his life, and made the decision to go ahead and lay him to rest. um I said I wasn't going to cry. I've already been crying, like, even before all this happened, before we even took him to the hospital and spoke to the doctor and all this other stuff. I've just been like, I've been having it rough, just look at him and seeing his steady decline, and see him not be himself. Like, his name is Jumpers for a reason, you know what I mean? And to not have seen him even
Well, he ain't
just,
jumped in a long
he
time.
ain't jumped in a long time.
But
Or even like attempted to like jump or be in high spirits or anything like that. And his hearing went, and then his vision went, and like his sense was a little off, and then he started having like little seizures and stuff. So then his balance and orientation was bad, and we've just been trying to like make him as comfortable as possible. And then he had a little fall, and that just was kind of like the last bit of it when he fell. And so it's been kind of difficult, and trying to explain that to a 6-year-old, like, I think she has a pretty good concept about what death is, so that morning before we left, I had her, you know, have her goodbyes with him, have her moment with him, and she was like, "Oh, are you guys still taking him to the doctors?" And I was like, "Yeah, we have to take him to the doctors to see what the doctor says and blah blah blah." But, I just let her know that he may or may not be here when you get back from school. So let's just, get our last minute loves in, And when we took him to the doctor, and she did the examination and everything, and because of his age and the steady decline, and she's like, it's possibly that he has brain cancer. And she's like, the amount of care that it's going to take if he has brain cancer is going to be extensive, and it's not going to be any type of life where he's going to just be enjoying life. It's just going to be a series of like tests and therapy and things like that. And he had already lost his hind legs, so yeah, it was rough. And it's weird waking up in the morning and not hearing the dogs, because we lost a dog last year too. So it's a new, it's like a new sense in the house. It's really weird because we've had dogs.
I'm and I'm gonna say this, like, I kinda felt a little bit guilty this morning because I was like, I kinda wish I had a dog.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, "This is not like" it's weird because, like, I think I told you, like, today's the first day we woke up and we had no dog. Like, we've always like, for the last 17 years, we've had a dog. So
Yeah.
we've always woke up, to a dog or, maybe been woken up by a dog.
Right, like
But
them barking like,
yeah,
"Get out of here and let us out," or
like we're trying to, like, let you know, like, if you don't let us out soon, we about to pee in this house, like,
Right.
so it's like
It was different.
it was real it was weird, and it was well, it wasn't kinda sad, it was
It was very
very sad
sad.
this morning, and
Yeah.
like I said, I know yesterday hit you hard, and it hit me hard as well, but I had, like, been preparing for this since, like, 2 weeks ago, like, when I saw how he was doing, and I was like, "Yeah, I have to, like, wrap my mind around this because I could tell, like, it's not gonna be much longer because how he was doing." And just like his, his drive, he didn't wanna eat, he really just wanted to sleep. He just anytime a dog just wants to sleep, it's like, yeah, it's something's going on, so yeah.
Yeah. And when I came downstairs this morning, like, his bed downstairs, like he had a bed upstairs in our room. And because for some reason, when he got older in life, he started loving going up and down the stairs. I don't know if that was just like his form of exercise or like what, but when we first bought our
Maybe that's how
house,
he jumped.
maybe, I don't know, but
He jumped.
when we first bought our house, we could not get those dogs upstairs. Either one of them. Like neither wanted to
You
walk
would carry him,
upstairs.
they'll come right back
We would
down.
carry them. They would get so nervous and so scared and come right back down. But then like in his last leg of life, we couldn't keep him off the stairs. And I'm like, buddy, you're not strong enough to keep going up and down these stairs, and you're going to fall. And sure enough, he ended up falling off the stairs. And I'm like, dude, but I was just thinking this morning, like when I came downstairs, so he has a bed upstairs and he has a bed downstairs, and the bed downstairs is in the second living room. So when you come downstairs, there's like you come around the corner and then you
They don't
have
need to
a
lay
clear
out.
shot. There's like a clear shot into the second living room, and that's where his bed usually is. So as soon as I turn that corner in the morning, I'm used to like looking to my right just to make sure he's like in his bed. And when I looked to the right, he wasn't in the bed, and nor was his bed there because we moved his bed and stuff yesterday. But I still haven't picked up his food and water. Like the food is still in there, and I'm sure I'm gonna have to pick it up soon because I don't want it to cause like bugs or anything. But like I couldn't bring myself to pick up his food and water because then for me, it's like, okay, like that's official. Like there's not a dog here. More importantly, he's not here. You know what I mean? And then as annoying as his little tapping used to be, like hearing him just like what he would walk just back and forth, back, and all you hear is like the little taps from his nails. And we used to be like, jumpers, sit down, like go lay down in your bed, or do you want to go outside? Like, but I wanted to hear nothing more than to hear those little taps go across the floor this morning. But yeah, so pretty tough week. But we're just gonna have to kind of readjust. It was heartbreaking hearing my child cry about it yesterday when she came home from school, and she like finally realized, after being home like an hour or so, she was like, wait a minute. She was like, "Where's Jumpers?" Like, his bed is not there. Where is Jumpers? And I had to let her know, like, unfortunately, Jumpers passed away today, and she just started crying, and she was like, "What? No, no, not Jumpers!" And she just starts bawling into tears. And she's like, "I have no more pets. I have 0 pets. That was my favorite pet, mom. He was my favorite dog." And she was just crying and crying and crying. And so when I was talking to my dad was like, "Well, think about it. Like, she's only known life with dogs because she's grown up with dogs." And I was like, "I didn't even think about it that way." Like, she's
Yeah.
used to having a dog like literally her whole life because she's only 6,
And
and he was almost 17,
yeah,
so she's literally used to
yeah,
being surrounded with dogs, and Bailey was what, 12?
yeah.
So she's used to having dogs around her, you know?
And in her defense, when she first started crawling and walking, Bailey would just knock her over.
Yeah,
So Bailey was always
but
the
that was still experience with her.
because, Bailey was the bigger dog,
Yeah.
and so she couldn't, like, push Bailey out the way, but the fact that Jumpers was smaller and she could handle him,
Mhm.
she, like, gravitated more toward Jumpers, like, "Okay, because he's not." She looked at Jumpers like, "He's not trying to knock me
He's
over."
not a threat.
Like, so
He's not a
so,
threat.
because we used to always have to tell Bailey, "Bailey, go calm down. You're around Phoenix, calm down.
Yeah.
You're gonna knock you're gonna knock her over." And
She didn't know how big
I
she
mean,
was.
she didn't mean anything, but she was just a goofy dog, a
Yeah,
sloppy, goofy dog. That's just who she was,
but
but
we loved her.
yeah, so
But yeah.
let's get into it.
So, yeah, so that was our week. On a brighter note, as a follow up to last week's episode, this week went much smoother
Oh, with the homework?
with the homework and the kid. I mean, I was like, yes, we are back on track. This is what I needed. I guess she just needed an adjustment period.
Mm,
That's what I'm going to check it up to. She needed an adjustment period because this week, going into this week, I was like, listen here, what we're not gonna do is have another week like we did last week. She was like, "Yes, mom." I was like, "Okay." So, day 1 when we had to do our studying and do homework, I was like, "Let's get your homework out so we can read over your homework and see what we're doing today." All I got was a, "Yes, mom." I said, "Chef's kiss."
you're welcome.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, so that was really
Why I
fun.
can't take credit for that?
I mean,
Why can't I think I should be able to take credit for that. Like, I feel like I
okay.
because dad laid down the law last week.
Is that what you think did it?
That's what happened. Put my
Okay.
foot down.
I mean, I'm not gonna take that from you.
Let's get into it.
I'm not gonna take
You
that from
wasting my
you.
time.
This is part of her upbringing.
Don't waste my time.
Um,
I got something I wanna do later.
anyway, okay. No, you don't. Oh, Chipotle. That's right. You want to go to Chipotle after this.
And something else.
Chipotle. Okay. So yeah, like speaking of kids,
Children.
children, this kind of takes me somewhat into what I kind of wanted to talk about today, just thinking about us as individuals and us as parents, um, and how our upbringing has like affected our life and how we interact together as husband and wife, and also how we parent our child,
Mhm.
right? Um, the aspect of us interacting together and our childhood and how it's affected us individually, how we handle conflict resolution, our attitudes, just things like that. So, first, I wanted to talk a little bit about your upbringing.
Oh, tell me about it.
No, you tell me about it. Tell me about it, babe.
I was raised
I feel like
very,
you didn't have a traditional upbringing, so.
what's the tradition about it? It's just I was raised by my grandparents in a very religious house.
Mhm.
Very stern,
Mhm.
very much of you do what I tell you and you don't do what I do,
Mhm.
type thing. But at the same time, I will say that I was given grace to make my own decisions because I knew what the standard was and I knew what the rules were. And it's
Mhm.
like they're gonna give you opportunities to either behave or misbehave, but
Make a decision.
you had to learn that you're gonna deal with the consequence of it. So I was when I think about it in a technical sense, I was raised to understand consequences because it wasn't like I had there was rules, but the rules were more like loosely implied, right? So like for instance, like I always said, like I didn't have a bedtime, right? The rule was you have to be up at this time. So you can stay up as late as you want to stay up. But if you don't get up when you're supposed to get up, now we're going to give you a bedtime because you're not being
Mhm.
responsible enough, right? I wasn't, you know, I it was very, it was made very aware this is the expectations of school. This is the expectations of your character. And I can recall a lot of times where I got in trouble not because what I did, but because I lied about what I did. Like when I broke the kitchen window. I was playing baseball, I hit the ball broke the window, and I was like, it wasn't me. Knowing damn well it was me. And I got in trouble. And it was informed to me, like, now you're about to get a consequence, which was an ass whooping back then, not because you broke the window, but because you lied about breaking the window.
Mhm.
So a lot of my lessons when I think back on my childhood, it was basically building character and not necessarily correcting behavior because I wasn't necessarily a bad child. I was just a child that, I was sheltered to some degree because I was just so involved in, the religious part of my upbringing. So yeah.
Do you think
You the one that didn't get whooped enough.
do you think that being raised by, because I feel like we've touched on this a little bit, just like you and I on our own. Do you think being raised by your grandparents gave you a little bit more, or you had a little bit more leniency? I know you mentioned grace, but as a preteen and a teenager, and I dated you as a preteen and teenager,
I was a
from
full
from
teenager.
okay, but during those years, from my perspective, right?
Okay.
It's my
Uh-huh.
perspective, but I'm asking you, like, do you think there was a lot more leniency with your upbringing as far as like I said, I know you said you were allowed grace. Was that grace or was that leniency
Well,
because you were raised by your
you
grandparents
can
who may not have had as much energy
no,
as
trust me, trust and believe.
your parent to
Trust and believe. It didn't matter how old LT was, he'll put it on you. Trust and believe. Um, like I said, I wasn't a child that was getting in trouble. I wasn't a problem
right.
child. I was a good student, and I so it wasn't that they were lenient. It was just that it wasn't a
You
lot of
met the
it
expectation.
wasn't a lot of situations that came awry where they would have to correct me,
Right.
right? And I think the last time I got in major trouble, I was maybe like 13. And I think that was when I just remember I was 13. I don't even remember what I did. I just remember like that was the ass whooping. I was like, okay, I'm tired of getting these ass whoopings. I'm gonna just do what they want me to do. 'Cause I don't wanna be chastised anymore, so I think once I hit 13, I didn't really get too much recommend because I knew what was, required of me,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like I was out here, just wilding,
Wilding
you know
out.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I had a pretty busy schedule, I had sports, and I had a job, like, because the second I started driving, I got a job, like, 'cause my
So do you, oh, go
so
ahead.
so my I put myself in a situation where I didn't have a lot of opportunities to get into trouble,
Do you think that
except with
they
you.
were they were more like hands off then? I mean, because here's the thing, I feel like,
Hands
and
off in
now
what
that I'm a
degree?
now that I'm a parent, as long as my kid appears to be doing what they're supposed to be doing and nothing is coming back to me that it's like negative or that they're not supposed to be doing, there's not a lot for me to look into, right? So like for me personally, as a teenager, I saw the relationship that my mother had with my sister, right? My sister was the very independent rebellious one. She was the rebellious one. So seeing that dynamic made me, or put me in a position where I had to be the opposite of that, right?
Mhm.
So in order for me to do the things that I wanted to do, I knew in my head consciously, if I just do the things that she's expecting of me, which is to perform in school, excel at my extracurricular. There wasn't
What you could do wrong.
much more I could, yeah, there
Okay,
wasn't, I
Demarie.
didn't give her a reason to really, I didn't give
I
her a
just put that
reason.
together. You're Demarie.
I didn't give her, listen, I didn't give her a reason to really delve deep or like have to look deep into other things that I was doing.
I just put that
But it's the
together.
truth.
You and your nephew. Oh my god. That means your sister is the oldest because all she did was get in trouble.
She is the oldest.
And well, like she's
Between us, she's the
right.
oldest.
She's the reflection of her oldest child, and then you're the reflection of her youngest. Wow. Oh, wow.
But do you see what I mean?
I see what you
Like
mean.
you because okay, if your parent tells you this is the expectation, right? So my
Mhm.
mom used to always say, as long as you graduate high school and don't bring me any babies. That was literally like a conversation, like
Oh.
graduate high school without any babies. And like what you do beyond that
Do you think
is
that was her just saying, "Be better than me"?
huh?
Do you think that was her saying, "Just do better than I did"?
Who?
Your mom, when she said, "Just
I mean,
graduate high school," and
possibly. I mean, as parents, we want our kids to do better than we did or have more than we did. So it wouldn't be beyond me for her to think that. But what I'm saying is like when a parent sets an expectation and they say like, okay, this is the expectation. You need to perform in school or bring good grades in whatever extracurricular activity you decide to do. You make sure you excel that in that. And as long as your child is not, you're not getting phone calls from the school,
yeah,
you're not, you know what I'm saying? Like as long as you appear, quote unquote, appear to be meeting those expectations, there's really not much more as a parent
right,
would be trying to delve deeper into their child's life, whether it be emotionally or, mentally or anything like that, because on all fronts, everything appears to be good.
right,
You're doing good in school. That's always a key indicator. You're not walking around here with an attitude. You're going to practice like you're supposed to be. So what else? What
right.
else do I need to be
So
involved in?
so to answer your question, I was raised with a very, um, like, hands-off approach,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when I think about the dynamic of my upbringing, I have to say that my aunt was a big portion of it too because she was like the third, like she would step in when
Mm-hmm.
my grandparents didn't have the energy or just couldn't deal with it. Like she would step in and she'd be like the third, like a authoritative figure.
Uh-huh.
And but when I look at everything, it's like I was dropped, like especially with my grandfather, he wouldn't sit you down and have like a direct conversation with you. He would drop little gems at you like randomly.
And you would
And
just pick it up.
you just have to like listen.
It's
Like
like the things that you hear
so
later in
right.
life.
So it's like he wouldn't be stern in correcting you. He
Mm-hmm.
would just see you on the path, like, hey, you might want to think about this.
Yeah.
Right? And then my grandmother was the same way. Like, come on, like you know not to do this. And my aunt would be like, she would flat out tell you, like, this is what will happen if this
Yeah.
what the case may be. So when I do look at my upbringing, it was very it was very hands off. It was more like we're gonna give you the blueprint and then
Yeah.
just see what you do with it. And
Yeah.
if you stray off the path too far, then that's when we step in and we wheel you in with the
Yeah.
discipline or whatever it may be.
Because I know like and you've heard this before, and not I'm not even just saying for me that you got a lot of people would say you were spoiled.
No, I was spoiled.
Right.
The
Okay. So now you admit it.
I was
Okay.
because I was the best.
Okay, no, but see, that's what I'm saying. Do you think you were spoiled more so because you were being raised by them, but you weren't their child? You were their
Look,
grandchild. So
put it
they
this
got
way. Put
to
it this way. This is how I look at it,
treat
right?
you like a
This
grandchild.
this is how I look at it. I look at it as I was, for lack of better words, I was one of my grandmother's favorites, right? It is what it is,
You just
right?
go say it,
I
huh?
It is what it is.
He's just ripping the band-aid off, guys. So
it
whatever families
it is.
listening to this,
It
it
is
is what it
it is
is.
what it is, right? Like this is known, right? And I mean I got a lot of hate and jealousy from the
A
family
lot.
for that reason, right? So not only was I one of her favorites, they also raised me in the golden years of their life, like
Right.
in retirement of their life. So they
Right.
weren't
That's what I mean.
they got I was raised in the time of their lives where they weren't necessarily struggling, raising kids and like that. Like so
They didn't have to
I didn't
work.
I didn't have to I didn't have to go through the struggles that my aunts and my uncle did because they were already through that. Because by the
Right.
time I was born, all their children are grown,
Yeah.
and it's
With
just that now,
their kids.
right now, they were grown with kids, and some of their children's kids were grown.
Yeah.
So I was raised in the era to where it was less stressful on them. And then, like again, the fact that I didn't really bring them any issues or any problems made it even easier. So yeah, the fact that I was a good student, the fact that I was always doing the right thing and I did everything they asked of me, it made it a lot easier for them
To say
to
yes.
say yes to things when I asked for them because it wasn't like I was out here just taking advantage of them or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I will definitely like I always say, my my grandmother, especially my grandmother, but my grandparents, they were a safety net for me.
Yes.
And it was something that of like a culture shock, like I always say, once my grandmother had passed and my grandfather had passed, and now I don't like now I'm out here on my own and now I'm really figuring it out. But when during my upbringing, it was like, yeah, I had a favorable upbringing, and even through the small stints of my life where I stayed with my mother, my grandparents always helped me. And
Yeah.
even then, like I would always say, I don't want to be here. I would tell my mom, I want to go back to my grandparents' house, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was like 7 or 8 when they officially adopted me. So from like that point on, I stayed with them. But or maybe I might have been like 9 or 10, but I was definitely like I was definitely catered to more than than their children. But in my mind, I see it as like they had more opportunity to spoil me than
Mhm.
they did their own children.
Mhm.
And I guess I had aunties that really disliked me for that, like because they compared my upbringing to theirs, and
I
for
mean, which is kind of
they were jealous.
it
Just
was
call it what it is. They
it
were
was
jealous.
kind of understandable. Like I think on the opposite end of that, like with me, my sister and I are like 4.5 years apart, right? And so as we got older and I got into the teenage years, as my mother's life progressed and changed, obviously my sister experienced a different mother than I experienced, right? Even though we were raised in the same household, her experience with my mom was not the same experience that I got with my mom. And I remember, especially coming into my teenage years, there was a lot of friction about things that I got or things that I got to do that my sister kind of perceived as unfair because she didn't get to do when she was 15 or when she was 16.
Yeah,
And it's like, but it's hard to hear that at, 19 or 20, that it's like mom is in a different she's in a different space now, you know what I mean? It's almost like when you have multiple kids and it's like the your firstborn is the one that grows up with you and goes through the struggles with you, and when you're trying to put yourself through school to get a career, and when you guys didn't have money, and then now the little ones, they come along, and now from the older child's perspective it looks like they just
they
have it
got it
so
easy.
easy.
They ain't doing nothing.
Right, they ain't doing nothing, and everything they want,
Right.
you Johnny on the spot right there. Oh yeah, you want to drive at 15? Guess what? Let's get you a car. I didn't get a car at 15. You know what I'm saying? So there was like a little bit of that friction, I think, over in our household a little bit.
Mhm.
Because for my background, I was raised by a single parent, right? And I think that comes with challenges in and of itself. But in the house, I was the baby. I was the youngest child in the house. And I feel like as I got older, I got more into the second half of my mom's life where she had a great career, where there was a little bit of money, where we could do more things. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to do the sports that I wanted to do and like things like that that may not have been there when my sister was my age at the time, right? Um, but as far as like dynamics, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have this discussion is because I also think the households that we were raised in and the how we were raised have, I mean, it shaped us. It had like there's not like I think, it has shaped us to the type of people we are, the characteristics that we have, how we handle s- uh disagreements, how we handle parenting and things of that such. And what made me think about it and really wanting to have the discussion is because I think about how my brain gets when I'm upset with you, or the
So with me,
things, yeah, or how
that's
I
often.
start to internalize, and the self conversation that I have when we're not like on the greatest terms. And that's when I get the most like I get this energy of like, I don't need that. Like I can do this on my own. Like if he wants to be that
That's
way,
that single mom.
okay. And that's what makes me think. That's why I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about it. And then when I think about certain behaviors that you showcase, it immediately makes me think about your childhood, because you are not the only child, but you grew up in a situation and in an environment where you were pretty much treated like you were the only child.
Mhm.
And I've known you like most of my life. So from the outside looking in and seeing the things that you were privy to, it made me developed like make me conscious. It makes me conscious about things in your childhood that weren't necessarily in other people's childhood, and how that has shaped you as a man, and how that shaped you as a teenager, and how those things constantly still show up whether you're thinking about it or not. I can see it, right? And then I
Well,
think about myself and I think, okay, where that's where some of that clash comes in at. And that's why I think it's important to have conversations like this because it's so easy for us to forget how our childhood has shaped the people we are. And when we get into relationships, how that constantly shows up. Like me being raised by a single mother but being in a traditional marriage, right? And
mhm,
how that shows up for me when there's friction in my marriage or
mhm,
when there's disagreement between us. And you being raised in a household where things were for the most part like
traditional.
traditional and like traditional and a little bit more smooth sailing and you being the only child and not having to compete for the things that you needed or the things that you wanted and things like that and how that looks as you know how that looks on you as an adult being in a relationship with somebody like me. So that's why I just really wanted to talk about that. So my
Like,
question, oh, go
I
ahead.
will say this, like this week, like when you asked me, you're like, "What's your problem with me?" Right, this week,
Mhm.
and I told you I don't want to talk about it.
Mhm.
And when I said that, when I got off the phone with you, and I was like, that was my grandfather. That was my grandfather in me right there,
Mhm.
because he was he was always a man of few words, and it's like even if I have an issue with you, I'm gonna do what I have to do. I'm still gonna hold up my responsibilities, and that was just the headspace I'm in. Like, yeah, I have an issue with you, and I mean, I still haven't told you what my issues are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an issue with you, but that's not gonna stop me from showing up day in and out and doing my husband duties,
Right.
right? So like that part of my childhood, like I said, like he would drop gems, and like I had the childhood where as as the prominent male figure in my life, he showed me how to be a man. He didn't necessarily tell me this is what required of you. And man, he showed me like this he showed me how to be a good upstanding man. And a lot of his traits that I still have today, they come from, it's like it's not about what I say, it's about what I do.
Mhm.
Because what you do is important. Like I can tell you anything, but if I'm not following through with the actions of what I'm telling you, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
So like this week, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not. I understand that I've progressed, and I've probably been a little better with conveying my feelings to you in
Mhm.
the last couple of years. But this week, I was like, it was just so much. Like I told you the other day, I said, I've just got
It's a lot.
I got so much stress on me. I don't want to talk about nothing
Right.
because I'm gonna get to a point to where because I'm kind of still there. I'm still at a point to where if I start talking, I'm gonna be so emotional about it that I'm not gonna be rational. So I don't want to talk about it. Let's just do what needs to be done, and we'll get through it.
But I want to ask you, like, okay, when I had called you and I was like, "What's your problem with me?" And you're like, "I don't want to talk about it." What was my response to you?
Okay,
Right. Right. Like
and I was fine,
I'm not going
and
to press
I
so
was
like
fine with
for
that.
me and I feel like that's where that independent thing comes from because for me it's like I'm not going to keep begging. I'm not going to egg on. I'm really not that wife. Like if you tell me not right now, I'm leaving you alone. If you tell me like I don't want to talk about it, okay, I'm moving along because instantly in my mind I get this attitude like I'm not going to beg you for nothing. I'm not going to beg you for your time. I'm not going to beg you for your attention. I'm going to go do
That's that
my
single
own
mom.
thing. But that's what I'm saying. Like I get that's why I wanted to talk about it because I get real independent real quick. Like I get real independent. Like you don't want to talk to me? Guess what? You ain't got to talk to me. I'm going to do my own thing. But see, what happens with you is when I give you that type of energy for too long, then you start to be like, okay, enough is enough.
'Cause you're my
En-
wife.
right, enough is enough.
I need you to be my
But
wife.
I personally, with myself, and I feel like, same, like I've done quite a bit of work where I'm trying to be conscious about these things, which is again why I want to have this conversation today because this was something else that I am conscious and aware that I do and I want to work on it is I also need to be more in the position of like, okay, giving you your time, giving you your space, and then kind of revisiting where the atmosphere is still like welcoming and we can sit down and talk this out, the both of us, and
Mhm.
however that needs to come out.
'Cause I would just say if I would have said how I was feeling in the moment, it was not welcoming, and it would have been argument.
Okay,
No,
but
no,
what do I
it would have
always
been
say? It
argument.
doesn't negate the fact that those are your feelings
Yeah.
and your feelings are what?
Valid.
Because why?
They're my feelings.
Exactly.
But
And
at the
that
same
that
time
never changes. I always tell him that.
but at the
Like,
same time, recognized and I understood that my feelings was gonna ruffle your feathers and you weren't gonna like what you was gonna hear.
okay, well,
So I didn't
but
it
that's
was it
fine.
was that situation to where if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say
Just
nothing at
say nothing
all.
at all.
That's why I didn't say
And
nothing
that's
at all.
fine. And that's why I also just be like, ixnay.
And that's why I tell
Okay,
people
I'm
20
good.
23 years, it ain't every day ain't sweet.
No, like it hasn't been 23, it's 22.
Whatever it is, it's
Every
23.
he always put an extra one on
Oh, it
there.
is 22. 22. You
But that's what I'm saying. So how do you think, because I'll say, like, from my perspective, I think sometimes knowing your type of upbringing and the tendencies that you have tendencies that I love and I adore and respect. And then there are tendencies that you have that I'm just like, man, like, I really wish I would have saw that sooner. But sometimes you can have this tendency to, I don't want to say, like, it's not like entitlement, because you're not entitled, like, at all. But it's almost like what you're going through and what's happening with you right now is the only thing that matters, and you can't see past that. And I think that also has a lot to do with, like, I guess, like, only child syndrome, because I see it with with my child. She's an only child, and it's like when things are happening, or when things are happening to you guys, like, you feel like something has happened to you, you can't really see past that. And I'm not even gonna say that it's probably just with only children, but I see a lot of it with only children, that you can't really see past whatever it is that you're experiencing right now. And that your experience and whatever you're having right now takes up so much space and takes up so much room that there's not enough room for anything and anybody else.
it's not that I can't see past my own experience or my own feelings. It's just that I don't want to.
Okay.
Right? So in the moment, I probably see what's happening in the background, but the level of importance is not that important to me because I'm trying to deal with what I'm dealing with.
Right.
Because what I'm dealing with is affecting me to the point to where, hey, I gotta find some balance or get some control with this inner dialogue or these inner emotions because it's gonna make me snap.
Hmm.
So I have that's it's one of those moments where I have to focus internally on myself so that I can project or be, the optimum version of myself taking care of the rest of the problems.
Hmm.
Like a lot of times, it's not that I'm so full of myself or entitled to myself. It's just that I understand that with anything I do, it starts with me. So
Right.
if I'm not in the right headspace, I'm not going to be able to fulfill any of the duties to my full potential because I'm dealing with my own internal dialogue or problems at the time. So it's not me being full of myself. It's me trying to calm myself and get myself back into a headspace in which now I can now be productive in more ways than one.
And I feel like for me, I'm the complete opposite. I'm taking care of everybody else and making sure everybody else is, like, good, and I'm neglecting myself. So if you're not in a good headspace, or she not in a good headspace, I'm going to completely I'm going to neglect me being down. I'm going to neglect me not having a good day. I'm going to neglect me being a ball of emotions and, like, feeling like crap and everything that's happened. I'm going to neglect all that about myself just so that I can be the strong partner for you. I'm not going to tell you that, hey, like, I've been depressed for the past 4 days, because I can see that you're depressed. So now I have to leave me on the back burner so I can make sure you're okay, so that you have what you need to do all the things that you got to do, that to provide, to be a father and to be a husband, do all that. When she's having a meltdown and she's doing all the things that, she's requiring the attention and she needs the emotional regulation, again, it doesn't matter if I'm in a hole in my mind and I've sunken down to the black hole in the deep space. I've put me on the back burner, and I take care of everybody else. And I think back again, like I said, tying this back to how we were raised, I was raised with a single parent, right? So she didn't have the additional help. She didn't have the second partner to come in and step in when things were getting out of hand or out of her control. She had to put herself on the back burner to make sure we had what we needed. She had to put aside how she felt to make sure the bills got paid, to make sure there was groceries in the house, to make sure we got to and from where we had to go to make sure we had to go to doctor's appointments. She had to do all of the things. And then if there was time left or when she got a moment to herself, that's when she could pay attention to herself and her mental health and her health and things like that. That's how I like I'm the opposite of that. You take it inward because you have that opportunity and you've been raised in an environment where you could sit there and have the mental evaluation and take the time to be with yourself so that you can self-regulate and just look inward to try to get yourself right and then go back out into the world and then do all of the things because you know that your attitude and how you're feeling affects everything else around you. So you have to go inward. Me, on the other hand, it's the opposite. I have to go outward. And if there's time left, or if, if there's enough care left, then I can put that into myself. So that's where the imbalance comes in at, right? And then when we look at certain things and different dynamics, then it's like that could cause friction between us because you're operating on one level, I'm operating on one level, and I'm having a whole dialogue in my head about you're having a whole dialogue in your head about me, and the next thing you know, we have an attitude with each other. We're
Well,
not getting along or we're not talking.
I try not to give you attitude, but it's like
But think about what you just
hold
said.
on, listen to what I'm saying. I try not to give you attitude, but I understand like when I get into that headspace, I'm very short in all my responses. Like I'm not going to put a lot of energy in anything outside of dealing with what I'm dealing with, right? Even and that's just not like the dialogue between us. That's like anything I do throughout the day, whether it be going to the gym or going to work, it's going to be bare minimum, whatever it takes to get the job done. And I'm not going to go above and beyond. I'm not going to try to do anything outside of the norm, right? Until I can justify or quantify what's actually going on inside of me and figure out a way to move forward. Now, that's not to say that because a lot of times something like this will happen, and it's not an issue with you. And when I be like, I'll tell you that you won't believe me. It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just me right now. It just so happened that this last time you were part of the issue, but it wasn't just you being part of the issue. It was dealing with the situation with the dog and dealing with a situation at work, and it was like all these things compounding on top of each other. And I was like, well, I'm just getting hit from every direction right now, and I can't see a light or a road out, and I'm just trying to figure out all these problems that are being laid in front of me at the same time.
And that's understandable. And that's understandable. And that's why I to I try to support you or even just try to create like a space for you to like unload or talk or anything like that. But your recoil for when life is like compounding you like that is to go inward. And I know that about you, right?
It's to isolate
It's to go inward. And even though I know that about you, part of me still
as a
feels
problem with it.
like it's not that I have a problem with it because it's a pattern. And that's what I always tell you. You operate on a pattern. I've gotten familiar with your pattern. Once you're not feeling that pressure anymore, I know what type of husband I'm going to get, right? And then once something else comes up and it's like it starts pressing, pressing, pressing on that button, I know what type of husband I'm gonna get. So
So you should
being
be
your
prepared.
wife, knowing your pattern, I try to be the wife that you need for that moment, for that cycle that we're in right now. He's in a cycle where he's like going into self, he's isolating himself, he's being short, he doesn't want to talk. Okay, let me just let him know that I am here. Like if you want to talk about it, if you don't want to talk about it, if you want to just hug, if you want to hug for 10 minutes, we can hug for 10 minutes. Like if you want to try to like schedule a date night so we can get out, like that usually helps too. Like us going to the gym, you know what I mean? That always does like a good trick because we get to work out together, we're having fun, we're being playful. That gets you out, you know what I'm saying? But knowing your pattern helps me to try to service you as my husband in the best way possible. But like just think about like what I had how I just said I'm the opposite of that, right? So when you're going inward and you're shutting off and you're isolating, I have to pick up everything else that's around, right? So that doesn't leave room for me to I can't isolate. I can't say like, "Oh, you know what? I need to get me right so that I can be of better service to you guys." I have to make sure that you straight and she straight because I see how you handle stress. I know how you handle stress, right? And it's like I in my opinion sometimes I don't get the same opportunity to isolate. I can't just
Well,
go
that's because 'cause you're
inward.
taking care of the child.
And well, even outside the child, like you think it's just the child, but it's not just the child. It's you too. And that's where I talk about the mental and the emotional. It's a lot because when you are isolating and when you are inward and everything like that, I can't just leave you alone. Like if I just leave you alone, then that's gonna be another thing to argue about or something else you're gonna be upset or yeah,
You leave me alone?
don't babe, if I just ignore you,
Well, don't ignore me if I say
look, yeah,
something to you. That's different.
look, see, look at you. Well, don't ignore
If I
me.
say something, if I
Well, don't ignore me.
like 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 your uncle always said, "Talk to me, I'll talk back."
Like, you know what I'm saying? For instance, prime example, right? And I feel like this is where it kind of started. The other day, what was it? I think it was Monday. I think it was. Was it Monday? I think it was Monday. Um, you had mentioned to me that you had wanted to spend time together, right? So this was at the end of the day when we've all had our showers, we've done the appointments, gone to dance, all this other stuff. We've been ripping and running. At least I had been ripping and running all day, right? And then we finally get to a point where after showers, we're all in bed. You and I are laying down together in bed, and like you tell me, like, oh, you wanted to spend time with me today, or you were like, you basically were having like one of your needy moments, right? And so the way you presented it to me was almost like I didn't make time for you and that's how you felt. And then the way for that I took it was, but you saw all that I was doing today. So don't try to make it seem like I neglected you. So yes, of course, I feel like I did get a little defensive. And then that made you feel like and I'm not trying to speak for you, but I'm just saying from my perspective, I think that made you feel as though now this is why I can't talk to you. This is why I can't say things like this to you because then you fly off the handles. And I wasn't trying to fly off the handles. I was simply saying that you went to the gym, you came home. When you came home for the gym, what was I doing? I had to go meet a client and take care of some business. When I came back home, I had enough time to get dressed, take my shower. I had to give her shower, get her dressed, go to the doctor's. We were out at the doctor's when we came home. We had what we have to do. We had to transition. I had to get her ready so that she could go to dance. We were at dance for 2.5 hours. Had to come home, make sure to get something to eat, cook dinner, make sure you guys eat, and then I finally came home to or no, I ended up stopping to get dinner that day. Yes, because it was Monday. I ended up stopping to get dinner. And then I came home and then brought food. And then even when I had called you to ask you like what you wanted to eat, you couldn't tell me what you wanted to eat. So I still just picked you up food anyway. You rolled your eyes when I gave you the food.
It was
Like,
the worst decision you could have made.
okay, but you didn't tell me. But see, this is the thing. You isolate and you don't say nothing.
But
And then
here's the thing.
hold on. I wasn't done. Hold on. You kept telling me, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I said, okay, what do you want to eat? Like, I can come home and I can cook, or I can pick something up because it's already getting late. Her bedtime is 7:30. And in my mind, I'm like, we still need to get, like, I need to get her ready so that she could go to bed so that we can have time. This is what I was thinking.
And what did I say to
I
you?
was thinking, no, hold on. I was thinking that, right? You couldn't tell me what you wanted to eat. I don't, what did you kept saying? I don't know what I wanted to eat. I
I
don't know what
said
I want.
I s
And then you say,
well, you
"Bring me," then because I wasn't talking. I was still talking.
okay, go
And then
ahead.
you say like, "Oh, well, bring me whatever you're gonna have." And then if I tell him what I'm gonna have, he'll go, "I don't want that." What do you want me to do? I still have to somewhat like cater to you and take care of you even when you don't know what it is you're doing or what you want, right? So then I come home, I bring you food, you're like, "Oh, what's that?" And I was like, "It's tacos. I brought you chicken tacos. You eat chicken tacos." I literally hand this man the food and he rolls his effing eyes. He rolls his
I
effing
had not
eyes.
rolled my
You
eyes.
absolutely, that's why you're
Okay.
smiling about
I
it.
don't remember
Cause you
rolling my eyes.
you were like that. I handed you the food and you're like, what's this? And I was like, chicken tacos. And you're like, okay. And I was like, you don't have to eat it, my G. Like, don't eat it.
I did
And
say okay though.
he had an attitude about that, right? So then get her, we all eat, get her to bed, blah, blah, blah. I get in the bed and it's like, whew, okay, end of the day. I've achieved all the things, I've done all the things. Okay, babe, like we can have some moments to ourselves. And then you go and you're like, I wanted to spend time together today. And I'm like, okay, I get that. That's like we're spending time together right now. Like we have time right now, but like when did you expect me to stop and like spend time today when you
Mm.
saw that I was back to back, back to back? And then I felt like you were trying to just like say something to prove a point. And you're like, oh, you could have came home and cooked dinner. And I said, okay, well, yeah, I could have come home and cooked dinner, but then you still just would have been in the other room watching the football game while I was in the kitchen cooking. And then you said, do you remember what you said?
What'd I say?
You said, I could have brought the iPad in the kitchen
I
and
could have.
watched the game.
I could have.
And to that, I
I could have.
say, when have you ever
Never.
done that?
Never, but it's the first
When
time for
have
everything.
you ever
Matter of fact, no,
listen,
I
when
had to
you're
when I
when
was
you
cooking, I had
no,
a lot of pie in
listen,
there.
when you are watching the game, you are knee deep in the game. You are knee deep in the game. Like in the game. Nothing you as far as you know, you in the stands at the game.
I am. I'm on
Okay.
the sideline. I'm coaching.
Okay. You were not gonna be standing there maneuvering around me in the kitchen while I cooked.
You could have watched the game with me,
Okay, babe, I can always watch the game with you,
but you don't.
but I'm cooking because just a little side note, this man cooked dinner last week.
Twice.
The second day we had to throw it out. The first day he scorched my darn pot
Because I was watching the game.
because he thought he could cook and then watch television.
I was
And
watching
I
the game.
said, and I told him, I said, when he came and sat down on the couch, I said, how was you cooking and watching TV? Oh, it'll be fine. And then 10, 15 minutes later, he comes to me, or I walk in the kitchen while he's trying to scrub my good medium pot, talking about, we gonna have to throw it away, huh?
I told you you could buy a new one.
So when you say you can watch the game and cook, no, when you cook, you need to pay attention to cooking.
Okay. First of all, you had to find my business out here like that. That's number one. Okay.
This is real life, real marriage, real relationship discussions,
And
okay?
it was I don't know.
Well, no, tell me.
It was like that that first one that was completely my fault.
What was your fault?
Burn the pot because I wasn't paying attention. I was cooking. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
It is what it is. The second one, I don't know. That I don't know what happened with
You want me to
that.
tell you what happened? Let
What?
me tell you where it
What?
started bad at.
Where?
This is where it started bad at, okay?
It
So
was in the
I don't
crock
know.
pot.
Listen, I don't know if y'all know where that previous podcast where I had said that Mama don't cook on the weekends no more, right? Because I cook through the week, so I don't cook on the weekends. Okay, so he cooks on the weekends. Now, granted, every once in a while I will cook, like if he's worked late or something like that. Last Sunday he did work. He came home at like 1 o'clock or whatever, but he was still like hell bent, like, oh no, don't worry about it. I'm gonna cook because it's gonna be a crock pot meal. I was like, okay, so mind you, this is also coming off of the scorched pot incident where he already just threw away my damn pot that I have a lid for in there now, but I have no matching pot. And in my pot was white. Just want to put that in there.
Damn. You ain't
Um
gotta be that. Come on now.
okay,
I
so
messed
hold
up.
on. So hold on.
I messed up.
I knew we were starting off on a wrong foot. Remember, the first day he ruined dinner because he was
No,
watching
hold on. The first day dinner was not ruined.
okay, it wasn't ruined. You just
Dinner wa
ruined my pot.
I ruined the pot.
Okay.
Okay,
The
dinner was
first
fired.
okay,
That
listen
salmon,
here.
the salmon was fired.
Listen here.
Calm down.
Listen here. First time it was because he thinks that he can watch football and cook at the same time, right? This time it was he thinks that if you cook things on high,
No.
that things will be. So I knew it was going to be a bad start when I walked into my kitchen and saw that he had my good small skillet and I looked at the eye of that fire and I said, "Maurice, Why
What are
is
you
the
talking
fire on
about?
high? Because you said you wanted to, but you were like, oh, I wanted to cook fast. I don't know what you had in
No,
there.
my God. No,
Hold on,
no.
hold
First of
on.
all,
Let me
no, no,
finish.
no, because your story is wrong.
No, no, my
No.
story's
That
not wrong.
skillet was on high, but because I was searing the meat before I put it in the crock pot.
Okay, but listen, he had put avocado oil in the pot.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. The avocado oil was out.
That's all I know what happened.
Okay, because that I only buy avocado or olive oil,
It was
but
my niece.
everybody knows that avocado and olive oil have high burning points.
Right.
So you put avocado oil in my good black silicone handled skillet
And it
and
still
turned
works
it on
today.
high. And I knew when I walked in that kitchen, I said, he finna scorch my dang
But I
on
didn't.
skillet.
But I didn't.
Maurice, I had to revive that skillet.
I did not.
Anywho,
Okay, whatever. Now you
anywho,
capping.
no, I'm not capping. You
Cap.
knew. Okay, it's
That's
gonna be another situation where
that's
he's gonna be
cap.
like, you know what? I'm
That's
gonna
cap.
admit it's my fault.
Nah, that's cap.
Anyway, he was rushing to cook the dinner. That's the point I was trying to make.
Because I had worked all day.
Okay,
I had worked all
and
morning.
I would have,
I was a little bit tired, but it was like
but you were hell bent. Like, no, I got this.
I was trying to help.
Okay, I appreciate you trying to help. Just you can't keep burning my skillets. But yes.
This ain't got nothing to do with the topic.
So yeah,
Just
but
going off
we
on
went
me.
off on a tangent.
No,
But
no, no,
anywho,
you went off on me.
no, because it all tied in together.
Okay.
But yeah. So like I was saying was, you get to go inward, right, and try to get yourself straight because you understand that all of that what you're going through affects your attitude and how you maneuver out into the world, right? Me on the opposite hand, like I said before, it's reverse. I don't have I don't have the space to just go inward to self-regulate myself to make sure I'm straight so that I can be the best version of myself for you and her and for the world and for everybody else, right? I have to just kind of like, from lack of better verbiage, pour from an empty cup sometimes. And I think, like we were saying, going back to how we were raised, the environments in which we were raised aids in that. So now my question to you is, how do you think that has shown up in how you parent?
Um, I do similar things. I give her space and opportunity to mess up herself. And then I come in and be like, "Oh, you know what you did. You know what the consequence is." But my again, I feel like my child is similar to me. She doesn't mess up often, and she doesn't do outrageous things. She's a kid. She does normal kid things. She tries to sneak snacks or play it so against each other to get her best view.
Hmm.
But I'm not necessarily a you got to do this right now unless it's like important or concerning her safety. So I do give her, using your terminology, I give her a lot of leeway when it comes to the things she does. But at the same time, she understands, like, Phoenix, you understand that if you don't do good in school, you don't get gymnastics, you don't get like everything starts here. None of this fun, you can do nothing fun. If you can't take care of what's important, you can't do nothing fun.
Hmm.
If you take care of what's important, you can have all the fun in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop you from doing anything unless I see it altering your behavior or your attitude. Then that's when I will step in. But like again, like I said, I'll be giving her a lot of, like, she knows the blueprint. She knows
Yeah.
she knows what's right. She knows what's wrong. She knows what she can do and what
She
she
knows the
right.
expectation.
So and she knows that dad's not going to say nothing unless I'm doing something wrong.
Now, how do you think your upbringing, being quote unquote an only child, has shaped how you interact with me, especially like when we're having a disagreement or when we're not on the same page?
Only thing I would say that my upbringing, how I interact with you, is I'm very possessive of you. I don't like to share you with anybody, even when I'm not around. I be like, you don't need to go out to lunch with that heifer. You gotta come meet me for lunch. You don't need to talk. You call me and talk to me. But I do. I have scrubbed that back though. That's the one thing I
Have
would
you?
say. Yeah,
How?
I
Pray,
don't really.
pray tell.
I let you go to
Because
lunch.
anytime I say I'm like gonna go do something,
Must be
you
nice. I'm at. I. That's not me being possessive of you. That's me being like, man, I wish I can go to lunch too. I'm at work. Are you out here going to lunch? I'm at work.
nigga, you go to lunch at work.
I eat the lunch I pack for work. That's not going to lunch,
Even when I worked, I went to lunch.
but it ain't the same. You was at work, so you earned that lunch.
You earn your lunch
Yeah,
too.
but that's what I'm saying. Now you just at home and you going to lunch. You ain't earned that lunch. Better make you a sandwich in the kitchen.
What did you say? Oh, that's gonna be a clip, and I can't wait for the comments on that one. I can't wait for the comments on that one.
You didn't earn that lunch.
I did it?
Now you may have earned yourself some adult time with, with your friends to go out and maybe have a lunch with your friends occasionally, but you shouldn't be out here having lunch every day when you ain't leaving the house.
Now I just watched an episode of The Jeffersons, and he just told Wheezy that she needed to quit her
We ain't got
volunteer
Jefferson money.
job because,
We ain't got
I
Jeff
mean, in a technical sense, you might have what they had back
I ain't got
then.
7 stories like George, okay?
Okay, so how do you think that shows up in conflict resolution though?
Well, what?
Like your upbringing, you having like that possessiveness or the
With you?
selfishness, um, like the selfishness. How do you think that shows
I
up?
don't but I'm not selfish when it comes to when it comes to matters.
Like what?
Like when it comes
I'm
to disagreements,
curious.
like I can see your side of the argument, even if I don't always agree with it, and I acknowledge it at least, and if we disagree to disagree, nothing gets resolved. But a lot of times, like I say all the times, a lot of times when I sit down and I hear your part of the story and I think about it from your side, I'm like, damn, you're right, and I apologize to you. But it's not I don't hold like some um I don't know. I don't hold like some like hatred or any like negativity towards anytime we disagree. Like if we disagree, a lot of times it's just like you said, it's we see the same thing differently. It doesn't mean either one of us is wrong, but a lot of times when I hear your approach or you explain to me your angle, I can see why you see it that way. Because a lot of times I understand that I'm looking at things from a male perspective and you're looking at things from a female perspective.
Mhm.
So I can understand why we clash, for certain things.
Do you think that, have you heard the saying um like little girls' fathers are their first loves,
Yes.
right? And how we're always looking for our father or our mother in our spouse.
Mhm.
Do you think that do you think, and I'm asking this because this is what I have asked myself. Do you think that you look for the type of mother you wanted for yourself in me?
Well, I didn't know what type of mother wanted. Or this is what I can honestly
Because
say,
you were raised by your grandparents.
right?
You weren't raised by your
So
your maternal
when I
mother.
when
So,
I when I look at you,
uh-huh.
the things I correlate with you and my grandmother is that you're both loving,
Mhm.
kind-hearted people
Mhm.
who will, if need be, give the shirt off your back for someone,
Mhm.
and that you will do anything for your family. And not only that, you're loyal to your family. That is the correlation I see between you and my grandmother. So, because you're nothing like my mother, nothing, unless you got some a tequila bottle over there somewhere I don't know about.
Bye.
You're nothing,
Goodbye.
you're nothing like my mother. So,
Shouts out to my mother-in-law. I love you, LaShawn.
um, so yeah, I can correlate some of those characteristics with my grandmother, and I can see why I was drawn to you or why I stayed around because I know everybody know why I was drawn to you.
Okay. I ask that because I think about like my relationship with my father, right? And I have a better relationship with my father now because one, I'm an adult, right? And as an adult, if you didn't have a relationship with a parent growing up, as an adult, you get to choose, right? And so I choose to have a relationship with my father now, and I choose to not hold the past or his lack of presence in my life against him, right?
Mhm.
I choose to meet him where he is now, and we build on that, right? But when I think about even just like my decision in dating when I was younger and what type of boys I was interested in, I knew right off the bat what type of boys I was not interested in.
Oh,
I knew I knew what type of boys I was not going near. Like, you know what I'm saying?
no, I
And
don't. What kind of boys were you not going near?
I was not going I wasn't going towards the boys who were like, not into doing school. I was not going towards the boys who did not appear to be responsible. I wasn't going to the boys who liked
You
to
thought I was
party.
responsible as a
I
kid?
you saw, I'm talking about like in high school,
I wasn't
what
responsible.
you saw what the population of kids we went to school with.
Yes, you told me I was the safe choice
It
many
you
times.
know, I wouldn't say safe, but I would say you were more aligned with what with what I wanted than what I knew I did not want. Okay. So but when I think about
Hurtful.
that, I think about the expectations that I have of you, and I think about how that
Do I meet him?
correlates. I think about how that correlates to my relationship with my father and how I felt like as a young child growing up, not having him there all the time, right? And being able to see my daughter have you as her father, it's like that's when I say to myself like, okay, like I think I did good. Like I think I did good because at least she has a parent who's present. He loves her. He spends time with her. He tells her, all of the things. And that's why when like even when you're tired and she'd be like, "Dad, like can you play with me?" Like I give you a look because I know you about to be like, "Phoenix, I really like dad's really not in the mood." But I give him a look like, yes, you're gonna play with her. Like even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 15 minutes,
I do what I want around here.
because you always end up playing with her. Like last night, you didn't think you
Did I
was
play
going.
with her last night?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Because it's like for one, she's not gonna be six forever, right? And
I didn't play with her last night.
you did play with her
You
last
played
night.
with her. You guys played
N-
Barbie, the
y-
gymnast party.
and then you played with her
We
afterwards.
played Pikachu. That's well,
You played
I'm
Pikachu.
always down to play Pikachu. It don't matter what time.
Anywho, I think about like my relationship and the correlation to like not having my father present when I was younger and the expectations that makes me feel that I should have and have to have of you. And
It's
it's like
funny.
you're not I understand and know that you're not my father, right? And
You can call me daddy.
you're not in stop it and you're not in the position to make me feel like I'm your little girl, but I do see, for me like the pattern, especially when choosing a mate, that was very high
Mm.
on on my list. Like I was very conscious about thinking about like I'm not going to be out here just wilding just because like I like him and he cute and that's who I'm gonna link up with because I could potentially be with this person for a very long time and I don't want what I have.
Mm.
Does that make sense? I don't
Mhm.
know if that makes sense. It makes
I
sense
I
to
was
me,
I
but
will say this, like, even having like I said, I even having my grandparents, right? They're at the age where they couldn't do much with me. So
yeah.
I still did a lot of things, I didn't have anybody at games or anything like that because
Hmm.
they couldn't do stuff like that. And they couldn't play and interact with me as a kid because,
Right.
they were older. So in that regard, I try to be the opposite of what I was shown. So I
Right.
do try to and whenever I can, I do try to be involved and to play with her and to do activities with her as much as possible when I am around, and that does stream from my childhood of not having that interaction
Hmm.
myself.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think we parent and interact with each other based on the environments that we were cultivated in,
Mhm.
right? So it's like just like you as a parent, you want your kid to have more and be more and do more than you did. I'm sure our parents have said the same thing for us. They want more and better for us, right? But we also can't negate the fact that these type of environments that we were raised in shaped us,
Mhm.
which is why when you start, if any of you have ever done therapy, that's why they always start with childhood.
I had a lovely childhood.
Everything starts with the foundation of childhood. Your major characteristics, how you handle yourself, how you handle your self-talk, how you handle interactions with the people around you, your interpersonal skills, all of that started with how you developed those skills from the
Mhm.
the home you were cultivated in,
Mhm.
you were raised in. All of those things help to shape you. Um, but for me, I see certain things in myself that I would like to be better at, or that I know
I
I
think
could be better
we can
at.
all say that.
And that's why I wanted to kind of have this discussion. And if I was going to choose like a New Year's resolution, like a definitive New Year's resolution, I would say that that's what I am going to make a conscious effort to work on this year, which is to go a little bit more inward and fill up my own cup a little bit more instead of just simply prioritizing everybody else around me. um I feel like I haven't prioritized myself enough, and to be more self-full and not necessarily selfish, but to be self-full, so that I too can, be better for the people around me, you know?
Mhm.
Would you say so?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that was a good discussion, babe. Thanks.
yeah,
What's the yeah for? Why am I just getting yeah?
yeah.
Why? What is your problem?
I ain't got no
I'm
problem.
gonna ask you again. What's your problem with me?
I'll tell you later.
Promise.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Let's hop into something a little bit more off subject. Let's dive right into our 2 cents. Okay. So this one says that me and my wife are getting a divorce with 4 kids.
Damn.
She cheated on me multiple times.
Damn.
Should I ever give her another chance? We've been married just about 7 years, and she comes to me just after New Year's to tell me that she wants a divorce. Little did I know, the night when she went out with her friends, she cheated on me with a coworker in a car. This is the second time I've caught her cheating with a coworker. The first time was on a business trip, and she had him sleep over at a hotel with her for 2 days. During that time, she was pleasuring herself with another guy on FaceTime. These are the only situations I know of as far as anything sexually happening. Both of these events were exactly 1 year apart. And no, I have never cheated on her, and I have never even talked to another woman since I've been in this relationship. I've been the one stuck at home with all the kids, taking care of them and losing my time. Why are you laughing?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, while she goes out and has fun, which at the time was fine. I was fine with, because one thing in life I wanted to be was a father who had a wonderful family. I now realize how much more I have put above my personal needs. I gave her everything and more, yet this still happened. She's currently with the guy she cheated on me with for the second time, currently seeing him whenever she can. Am I the fool for one day believing we could rekindle our family?
Yes. 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 Because this is what I think's happened in my mind.
Okay, tell me.
You've become a stay-at-home father.
Yep.
Your wife doesn't respect you.
Nope.
She sees you as another child that she takes care of.
I mean,
And
how? She ain't taking care of the other ones. He's
well,
taking care of them.
because financially,
Oh.
and she has no respect for you.
Ooh.
She doesn't see you as a man, she sees you as a problem. So you need to exit stage left and make sure she pay your alimony, because clearly she can't take care of the kids. She probably know who the doctor is. So take your kids, go find you somebody. Wait till it's final, then go find you somebody. And now, as long as you have proof of her infidelity, I would grant it. Get paid, my brother. Get that paper. She has released you of all your financial responsibility to her. Get that paper.
Okay. So, as a person who is an at-home parent,
Mm,
I totally could understand where he was coming from, where he feels like he has put everybody's needs above his own, right?
mhm.
And where he's like, am I crazy for thinking that I can rekindle my family? First of all, no, you're not crazy for thinking you can rekindle your family, okay? And the only reason why I say that is because in the beginning, when this whole setup was what it was probably beautiful. It was probably great, right? And that's what he knows is the potential it could be, right? What I feel like has shifted and what has changed is kind of like what you said. like her perception of him has changed, right? He's at home with kids, 4 kids all day, doing all of the stay-at-home things, and when she comes home, he's just not he's not exciting, he's not appealing to her,
Because
he's
the
not
only
any of
thing
those
he got to
things,
talk about is
right?
the kids.
And I can resonate with that because I feel like I can probably be that for you sometimes.
Be what?
I don't know if that's true, but I'm just saying I know I have internalized that for
What,
myself
that you just
sometimes
someone else I take care of?
where like yeah, where you're just like,
No,
okay,
we
like
ain't got there yet. I'll let you know.
I can't. I'm gonna just readjust my mic.
We ain't got there yet. Look here, my guy. Uh, she's cheated twice. I would, being the petty person I am, I'd get a DNA test on all them kids.
He
At
didn't
this,
say nothing about
yeah, yeah,
he didn't say nothing about wondering if his children was his children
I
though.
get a DNA test on all them kids, and then
Because
when
you think this is behavior that has started
and
like
starting to
he just knows about it now.
right, starting tomorrow, get in the gym, get in the gym. Do the same thing these women do when they get single.
I think there is
Go
something to
go
be said.
go get your baddie body.
I think there is something to be said because I kind of feel like somebody is gonna say, "Well, why can't he like do that now and work on himself?" I think there is something to be said that when you are I'm gonna just say it like when you're like sacrificing yourself for your family, right? You're not thinking about like, okay, like, oh, I'm becoming less attractive or like my partner is not gonna see me like this because you're in it. You're like in
He's
you're in the thick
fulfilling
of it.
his
He's
duties.
fulfilling his duty. If this is the setup that we have set up, I'm all in on my side, right? And my side is the less glamorous side, right? But you on the other hand, you still get to it may not be glamorous, but you still get to get up every day. You get to get dressed. You get to leave this house with a purpose. You get to interact with other adults. You get to entertain conversations. And of course, that's going to seem appealing
Mhm.
when you're out there and you're talking to the coworker who may be cute and handsome and you're seeing him only in this type of scenario. You're not seeing him like on an everyday at home. He could probably be a slob at home. He could probably be an asshole when you go to date him. But this part where you guys get to have this little fantasy of affair where you're meeting up at the hotel, all of this is exciting and everything like that, right? So, of course, when you go home and your husband's in the thick of it, and it's like, he's been taking care of kids and cooking dinner and straightening up and things like that, it's like, oh, this shit is depressing. Like, I come home to you and you're supposed to be my man. Like, it's hard for me, it's hard for her to probably look at him and be like, oh, like, you're not sexy. You know what I'm saying? So, it's hard for him to just be like, you know what? Let me pour into myself. Let me go into the gym. Let me take care of myself.
She's supposed to she's
But
supposed to see him on the inside.
goodbye. But if he starts doing those things, like you said, right? Like, let's say they split, right? And now he's got time to pour into himself and get himself together. Guess who gonna be feeling salty?
She gonna feel salty
She gonna feel
anyway
real salty. She gonna feel real salty, and then it's gonna be a conversation. Well, why couldn't you do all of those things where, like, look like you were interested in life when we were together?
because she didn't grant him with a safe space. I love when shit flipped. I love when it
I don't like you.
I love when it's flipped. He wasn't in a safe space.
Is that what it was?
He was making sure the family was taken care of. He was making sure the children
Oh.
had everything
I
they
mean, now,
need.
and
He
granted,
didn't
don't get
have
me
time
wrong.
for
We don't know.
himself.
You don't know these people. He might be an asshole.
He didn't
We
have time
don't
for
know.
himself.
We don't
I'm
know.
sure whatever reaction he gives her is warranted because she doesn't respect him and the work he does as him being a homemaker. She's not respecting
Obviously,
him.
she doesn't respect him. She's cheating on him.
Exactly. He don't have a safe space.
You don't even make sense right now. I don't.
Get your money, my dude.
All right, guys.
Make sure
Well,
she pay for your lawyer too.
okay. Well, that's been the advice of Mo Lethal. And this has been another
It's all about
episode.
equality.
This has been
They
another
wanted to be
episode.
equal. We gonna let them be equal.
I don't think that's what they meant.
It don't matter what they
And I
meant.
think we were all behoozled.
It,
I think they pulled a fast one on us,
it,
guys.
it don't matter what they meant. It's what they wanted.
They pulled
Equality,
a fast one on us.
equality, feminism.
Okay.
Time for her to pay that child support and alimony.
This has been another
Go,
episode.
you finna live good, my dude. Oh,
Or
oh,
you know what?
oh.
Let's just make it simple.
Get the
Maybe
house. Keep
she
the
just
house.
don't want you.
Keep the house too.
Maybe she just don't want you. And when people show you who they are, believe them the first time, and in your case, believe them the
Yo,
second and
keep
the
the
third
house
time.
and move make sure you move a girl in.
If she don't want
Move a
you,
young lady in the house.
do what you can to better improve yourself and work at your marriage if that is something that you want to do. That's really all I can
It
say.
is what it
Like,
is.
because when there's cheating involved, that's a whole nother level.
She's a garbage human being.
I wouldn't say she's a garbage human being,
She don't honor her vows.
but
She's
there's
disloyal. She's disloyal. If
okay.
she can cheat on you, she can
This
cheat
has
on
been
anybody.
another episode of Life After I Do.
Do do do
If
do
you don't, if you're not
do.
already following us, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Only
at
pans.
we are not on OnlyPans. You can follow us at Life After I Do podcast on those platforms. If you would like to write into us on a topic that you would like for us to discuss, or if you have any questions, you can always write to us at lifeafteridopodcast@gmail.com. New episodes are every Wednesday, guys. Okay. So comment, subscribe.
All that.
We're available on all digital streaming
She's available.
platforms.
I'm busy.
So yeah. So until next week. Peace.
Doses.